Nice to be back. Let's get this thing started. We have a lot to cover. Uh-oh.
It might be the distance.
It might be the distance. Why not? I feel like Bill Donahue. Remember those days, folks? We'll see. Bummer. Is there any slack in it? Can you move it up towards this way a little? Still not working. She's got super range. I want the Amazon bought it. Really?
Might have been a knockoff.
Bummer. Okay. Well, then I need your help. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to talk. I've got to go back to the beginning. You already see some of the stuff a little bit when we walked in. But we got to start from the beginning because the story starts there. What we've learned. A lot of you all want to be involved in branding Hartselle, and you're not going to use a logo, but you can use it in your store. You can use it in your own promotion and tell a story, your version of the story. That's what makes a story authentic. It's familiar no matter who you speak to, but it's always a little bit different depending on their perspective. That's what makes an authentic place. So we're going to start from the beginning. We'll get to some of the fun stuff and show kind of expressions of how to tell the Hartselle story a bit, and even broad recommendations. So go ahead. All right. To sum it up, why did we do this project? I thought you did a good job a while ago. But we want to create an identity for Hartselle that's it is reflective of our personality, right? We have something that is true. You look, whenever we're speaking, you want it to feel like Hartselle, right? Yes, I know there's no train in the logo. It doesn't mean the train's not a big part of your personality. All over the place. We want to look different. We want to stand out. Isn't that branding 101? We want to be distinct versus those around us, right? That's very, very important. We want to build an authentic relationship with people that we are speaking with, our residents, our business community, our visitors. That's super important. And want something that reflects something that we're proud of. And I hope we tap into that as well. So let's go in a bit. There's our 4-phase process. We don't have to cover that. Next. I showed you all this several months ago, and I just want to, one more time. This is a place branding tool. Every single community has 8 fundamental pillars that give it its identity. Any one of them can do it by themselves. In some communities around the country, it does. Athens, Georgia, I like using that example here. Athens, Georgia, most people only know one thing, right? Education drives, right? I would say the further you're away from Tuscaloosa, the less people know other than education. So use that as an example, any one pillar can define you. When you have a really strong community identity is when all of them contribute towards the process, right? In fact, if you look at it as a skeleton and ask whose job is it to brand a community, the reality is it's not the chamber's job, it's not tourism's job alone, it's not the city's job alone. Everybody contributes to it. That is how a reputation of a community, and what it takes is everyone working together. Sometimes you get lucky, right? I think I used, last time I was here, I used the example of Waco, Texas. They got unlucky for years because of some bad incidents, and they got lucky because 2 people loved their town and did something about it. Luck is not a good strategy for our dear community, right? That's why we did this process. So, next. A lot of people were involved, although I appreciate, we're glad we worked with ChandlerThinks. Trust me, I really do appreciate you chose us. You all were involved. Your community was involved. We spoke to over 750 people. So it's not just what Steve Chandler or his band of Mary had people thought. It's what you all said, and you all, what we've done is a reflection of that. Not to a person. One of you, said, by golly, our logo must have a train in it. That's a good argument. I mean, you're not gonna argue with that, right? It doesn't, but it's considered, right? It does, everything we did doesn't reflect what every single person said, but collectively, the spirit of it, you better believe it does, right? It's not about one person, it's about everybody. So, yeah, a lot of people are involved in focus groups, surveys. We spoke to a fair amount of people outside of Hartselle as well. So what did we learn next? I'm not going to show a bunch of research, but I'm going to show a couple of things, just to kind of remind us if you weren't with us last time we were together. So we asked you on a scale of 1 to 5, to rate your community. I wanted to show this to you all today because you don't have the perspective that I do. I work with all kinds of communities all over the place. You don't just wake up to your world of Hartselle. A scale of 1 to 5 when you rate your community, what we're looking for is, are you proud of where you live? Do you love where you live? That's why we're asking the question. Because I have a major branding challenge ahead of me if I'm trying to brand a community that's like, it's no fun. We don't like it here. That makes it tough. It changes our approach, if that makes sense. On a scale of 1 to 5, 3, if you have a hamburger joint and a customer gives you feedback on your hamburger, you said, how did you like my hamburger? And they went, it was okay. Are you happy? Is that the kind of product or any of you offer your services? Are you happy when a customer says it was okay? That's a 3. So just because it's in the middle of the scale, do not interpret it as that's good. Look where you all land. In fact, the last 16 communities we've worked with, only one community rated themselves higher than Hartselle did as a place to live. And that was Cedarburg, Wisconsin, by the way. Right? You all, in other words, you all love Hartselle. You're major promoters of Hartselle. This is good stuff. We can work with this, right? Trust me, I just came from a community where everything was below 3s. We had a different situation, right? You all love Hartselle, right? You're big promoters of it. So that was big. That told us a lot right there. Next. How do you all describe it? A lot of things. I'm not going to go into this too much. It's a word cloud. So the more often something's mentioned, the bigger it is. But you're small, friendly, safe, quaint town. All little fun things with it. I'm not showing it to you today, but we did the same process with the 350 people that we spoke to outside of Hartselle. The number one word that defines Hartselle to people outside, small. Like overwhelming. Like there's a bunch of little bitty things, small, right? Cute. Cute little Hartselle, right? Our creative director went through the research and went, oh my goodness, this place is like a big warm hug. And we laughed, and the more and some of the folks on the board worked with us in the creative process, we used that a lot. We kind of geared a lot of what we did. But it's true. This is a community where, we treat everyone like family. It's not a cliche. You hear that a lot. It's not a cliche here. Faith, family, and football. That's Hartselle. We actually consider putting that as your tagline. Faith, family, and football, right? Just to want the other sporting events to get mad at us. I know we spoke to someone from the school board, we were talking, interviewing the role of sports and competition. We're like, yeah, but it's football, right? And I want to say it was a she. I think. She said, no, we win at everything. Everything. Not just football. Everything. If it's speech, you name it. We're competitive. But we're going to hug you after it's over, sure. All right? No doubt about it. All right, next one, please. I thought this was interesting. This is what the community of Hartselle, this is what you all said when we asked what are your most notable assets for positively shaping who we are today. Look at the number one thing, schools. Schools. Your location on the interstate is a great advantage. I don't think you're taking advantage of it as much as you can be. We're going to try to help out there on some specific recommendations, by the way. Who's from the city here? Yeah. Our gas sign, our big blue sign on the interstate, has nothing on it. Nothing. It's a side note. That's huge. It's not a city sign, I get it, but we got to work with the state to get that. That drives traffic. You're saying like crazy. I just noticed that today. Sorry. Distraction. Downtown, the role that it has. Obviously, we're a benefactor of what's happening around us. One person I know in my interview said, to live in Hartselle is to live as a Decatur. You know, we live at both. You'll have an interesting relationship with the caterer, but that's a different story. Church is a big part of it. I do a lot of work in the South. I was telling someone a while ago. It's pretty common that faith is a part of the community. I've never worked in a community where faith was at the forefront as much as it is here. I mean, literally, right? Half the businesses have scripture in the windows right now. That trailer in front of the window has scripture on the back of it, because I saw when I came in. It's just what we do. Every focus group and interview we had was at a church. It is our community, right? It's not a cliche at all. A lot of things important, as you can see on there. That kind of gets into the notion of some of the research of what we learned next. And then a lot of stuff here, but this, in my opinion, is branding the city, branding the community. It's the 5 senses. You don't have to have a marketing textbook. You don't have to go to Northwestern University and get your MBA there. The reality is the 5 senses we all learned at a very young age. Every business in town uses at least one, if not multiple, senses to deliver what they do. That's branding. Proof. When you go to a city, do you go find the city logo and take a picture of it and put it on Facebook? Nope. You look at their murals, you get pictures in front of murals, give me the angel wings, let's get in front of that, right? Sculptures, art, interesting buildings, bridges, things that aren't in the city that you're from that you think are interesting and compelling. You take pictures of it, you share it all over social media. And it's been going on for years because the first thing you think of when you think of Paris is Eiffel Tower. That's branding a city. Sense of place is a big part of it, right? We never brag about the city's logo or how great it is, right? The senses are how we do it. We take pictures of food, share it with other people. You remember that I went to Savannah, I ate at Paula Dean's place, right? Butter of Delight, right? Restaurants, food, sounds, smells, if you can pull it off. You can put off an interesting smell. I was sent on a mission when my wife knew that I was coming back to Hartselle. I had to go get a whole replenish my supply of pineapple fluff. That's branding. All right? So for your business, and these are just some of the things that popped up in our research, and we asked the local communities to tell us the census of Hartselle. This is what they said. And what I like to emphasize is we have a problem when we're selling real estate or the Chamber of Commerce is really, really bad at it usually. Okay? It's a great place to live, work, and play. We like to speak in generalities because we don't want anyone to get mad. I've had communities be like, oh, take those examples out of your copy. We don't want to make other businesses mad because you highlighted one business. What? Well, then you're going to sound boring. All right, be specific whenever you sell your own business, but also when we're selling a Hartselle. Be very specific. Don't tell me about a burger. Everybody's got a burger. Tell me about Lily's. And what kind of hamburgers they have there, right? Like, give me something specific. It's okay. And if your business isn't the one being highlighted, don't get mad at this because I've already told her to do this, okay? What else? Okay, next. So what did we learn? Again, I just showed you 4 slides of research. If you were here, we have 67 of them. Don't worry, I'll spare you. But the takeaways were this. Number 1, your location in North Alabama is fantastic. It's lucky, take it, who cares, right? You're the dead middle of North Alabama and all the action that's going on in North Alabama. There's never been a better time to live in North Alabama. And you're in the middle of that, and you're in the middle of Morgan County. You are definitely the heart of it. That's fantastic. It allows you a lot of benefits. It's why this is a fantastic place. Because you can stay small and still benefit. You can get all that you want when you want it and not when you don't. Right? You've got access to 2 airports within 2 hours. 3, actually. Count them. I didn't think about Birmingham. Yeah, 3. Number 2, your community spirit fully embraces small town values and hospitality. You live it. I would imagine most everyone in this room knows everybody. If not, recognize them at least. That's not normal, by the way. You don't know that, but it's not normal. You all know each other's kids. You recognize their kids. You talk to their kids. Kids know that they're accountable to you. Even though you're not their mom and dad, they know that you're going to tell their mom and dad. All the things that go along with it. It's why you live here. It's not for everybody. It's why everyone doesn't live here. and that's good too. That's a big part of branding, is understanding who you are so you can preserve it. It's not always about growing and getting big. It's about preserving it so as you grow, and you will, but you do it on your terms. Maintain those values and those characteristics, right? Next, downtown is the greatest display of your personality. Some of you have businesses that are not downtown. I'm not saying that they're not important. What I'm saying is the heart and soul of Hartselle, we're staying right in the middle of it. Your identity, what people remember, the flavor, where people gather, other than churches, in some cases churches, right? But it is the heart and soul of the community. And when you go outside of Hartselle, it's what they think of. Everyone, when they describe Hartselle, they describe it downtown. Right? The visual of it is so strong. The impact of it is so strong. That's normal for a healthy downtown in any community. That's usually the case, by the way. That's how downtowns serve us, right? But yes, it's very important. It spurs your local economy and tourism, and it's really the biggest opportunity for that movement ahead as well. So our strategy, what we said we were going to do after we went through all the research, was put more efforts on preserving and a little bragging. You got to brag, and we'll teach y'all to brag a little bit better, a little bit, right? About what matters. What matters? We don't need to add energy and emphasis. What makes you interesting? So it's okay to put emphasis on our downtown. It's okay. Everybody wins when you're downtown to destination, even if you're not downtown. Okay. Create a voice that matches your values. When we speak, it needs to sound like a place that matters, that cares about faith and family, all the small-time values. That's who we are. We have to remember that voice. Sometimes if we act too big and bold, it might not be really an accurate reflection of who we are. So the voice matters in branding. And create an identity that matches your personality. You are cute. We're cute, right? Even men, you're cute too, okay? We're cute. Quaint heritage is important. I will say, we have a lot of measures in our research. You all scored yourselves poorly in how well you're preserving and telling your heritage story. Well, side note, you all did not rate yourself well. It's important to you. I anecdotally told you that, right? Heritage training, all that stuff, all of agriculture, I did it all the way, right? But actually, you could do a much better job of it. Much better job. And friendly. We want to create an identity that's friendly, it's approachable, it's a warm hug, but professional. Okay? So that's what we set out to do in our strategy. Next. So here we go. So the development of our brand story. So let's start telling our story. Let's make this all happen. All right? I'm going to get my best Charlton Heston voice going here a little bit. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to tell you a story of Hartselle. We actually wrote a humongous story. It's about 1,500 words. I'm not going to read that to you. I'm going to do a short version of it to try to get you going, okay? All right. Just a couple of miles and a few minutes off the interstate lies a place that embodies what many imagine life should and could be. If you take the time to slow down a bit, you'll find a city steeped in history and small-town traditions and values that anchor and connect us to the best of the past. In Hartselle, the things that matter most, such as highly ranked schools, friends and neighbors coming together in celebration of food, faith, and sports, and a welcoming community spirit, take front and center. Here, where the most deeply rooted traditions, such as Southern hospitality, never go out of style. They believe strangers are only friends they haven't met yet. From the community's strong ties to the railroad, still evidence today to the historic downtown filled with trendy shops, cafes, and businesses. This is a city that's found a way to strike the perfect balance and marriage between old and new. From the football fields to Main Street and everywhere in between, Hartselle represents the best of both worlds, seeing and treasuring yesterday as the town envisions and grows toward tomorrow. We do both. Let us too, hit one more time, please. Hartselle, something old, something new. It's absolutely our heritage, but it's also where we're going. We are not stuck in the past. Make no mistake, we're not. We do value traditions. We very much value traditions. Make no mistake, right? But we are progressive in the way we carry ourselves and move forward. So it's this perfect, cute little balance. Hartselle, something old, something new. Next one, please. So this is, you saw a couple of them that were, when you walked in the door. These are concepts, so don't worry, they're not out running in media yet. We don't even have approval on a couple of these photos, one of them we could. This is just a representation for now, okay? Make no mistake, do not ever, there's a reason I emphasize this, unfortunately, do not ever market your community, your city, with anything other than your photos. So, just making sure, in case anyone gets any of our stuff and uses it, I told you don't do that, okay? Just representation. Right? Something old, go back one more time, please. Something old, something new, when it's simply a matter of keeping faith in the things that matter. So it could be, if you'll notice in this case, we show faith at the very top of it. Like, we don't shy away that faith is important to us. That's the very first thing we're going to talk about, right? Welcome to Hartselle, where are you going to church? So, so you'll notice we chose to show faith literally at the top. I think it's concepts, so don't worry, it's not your church. And food, really, it's not about food, it's about what it represents. It's about potlucks and work, and whether they're church potlucks or community potlucks, people coming together and family and friends is really the idea behind this. Next. Something old, something new. When historic Main Street is ground zero for the latest trends. Okay, sure, that's a nod to one of you. A little nod to one of you. The reality is, you all do have a great asset in one of your locations here, one of your stores, that all of you benefit from. There's a fantastic opportunity. We spoke to people that are not even near Hartselle that come here, that know of Hartselle. They're on the map for a lot of people. And there's a great opportunity to make it more than just one place. Because all of Hartselle represents what that one shop does. They just own it. But all of that is Hartselle. It's a giant store of hospitality. That's why you say it's Southern hospitality, right? So you'll notice, so we're trying to be a little cute and approachable, not too cute. We're also trying to be very professional. We have a responsibility. Sometimes, you can imagine some of these an ad like this for economic development. We've got to tone it up a little bit, right? We've got to be able to speak to big business that we would want here. So this does that. There's a color palette that's consistent. And again, these are just a couple of concept ads. I think I have one more. Yeah, something old, something new. When an icon in Southern history becomes an icon in Southern dining, right? Not to the freight house, not the people eating. Are any of them, are they here? Oh man, that would have been a great joke. Yeah. So the point is, we have treasured assets. We have treasured heritage, and we can still repurpose those things and use them in new ways. I'm standing in one right now that does that, right? So just a real representation of something old, something new. Next. Okay, how about interstate outdoor boards? I told Missy when we first started working on this project, if I could only do one thing that actually boosted the downtown economy, or just the economy in general, like if I could only do one tactical thing, I'd do an outdoor board. You're a mile and a half off the interstate, and it's an instant, big first impression. So this is what an outdoor board could look like, right? Historic treasures, unforgettable fun. Hartselle, downtown exit 328. Not difficult, right? I believe Reeves has outdoor billboards. Are you all here? They're a research presentation. You know why they have outdoor billboards? Because they work, right? So let's do the same thing. Take it from Reeves. All right, I think I have one more example. Historically treasured, delightfully unforgettable, Hartselle, something old, something new. So that's really more of a feel good. I think the previous one is one I would actually seriously consider running, again, with making sure it's real photography of really in Hartselle. All right, next. Okay, there's a logo, by the way. I don't know if y'all noticed that or not. Okay, what's behind the logo? Well, the Hartselle logo is developed to reflect warmth, friendliness, all things we've been talking about, right? Welcoming spirit. You do have a bold personality. You're bold in your way, but we can't be so bold that we're still not cute, right? We try to do both, right? Chosen type style is very traditional. It's not a big departure from what Hartselle's had in the past, at least some of the organizations. So it's very traditional, timeless, reliable, comfortable, practical, just like Hartselle, right? It's interesting. Typeface is one of those things for communities. It's easy to get cute with it. If it was tourism by itself, there's a little bit more latitude because there's an expectation of fun is delivered in everything that you do. But when we have a logo that could have wide applications, you have to think that through of how different ways it can be used, right? I know the chamber immediately is going to adopt this, so therefore, there's a sense of professionalism that's very, very important at the table of economic development in many cases, right? So we have to take that into account. So professionalism is really important. It kept us from getting too fun and cute with the typeface, right? I think you've seen a case recently where that happened and it didn't work well. And in a city where family and faith take center stage, the small heart icon, and I will applaud, we have a committee that was involved in working with us directly on the creative. The first idea of this, the heart was humongous, huge. And whoever it was, I apologize, it looks like a medical center. It looks more like a medical center than it does an element of our community. And thank goodness you said that, because she was right. And so the use of it and the size of it was deliberated for a while, but it needs to be a complementary accent. It doesn't need to be big and in your face. That's not Hartselle, right? I told someone earlier, it almost looks like a tongue bracelet. But, and then also it's symbolic of and kind of how we opened up in the research. We're kind of the heart of Morgan County. It's okay to have a little fun with it, right? It's okay. I didn't even put this in here, but I would heart my brains out. And I would purposely spell it H-A-R-T instead of the other way on purpose. I would create my own, I'd create my own language. Anytime I talk about Hartselle, and anytime I say the word heart, I would make that what we do. Like the community that misspells the word heart is what you should do, right? Let it be your language. I'm actually absolutely serious about that. So that's what's behind the logo. I could make up a bunch of other stuff if you want, but it's not that complicated. It's just a logo, right? It's simple, matter of fact, it's professional, it does the things that we need it to do. All right, next. There is a color palette. The role of the color palette is simply when we speak, we want to be recognizable as part of branding. I won't go into it too much. There's a whole 6-7 page logo standards, guys, brand standards, typefaces, colors, how to use it, how not to use it, all that good fun stuff. There you go. Next. All right. Okay, so there's basically a 6-point plan. If you want to look at it, how do we brand Hartselle? There's 6 main ways that we do it. We got to package the branding effort. You didn't go through all this effort for nothing, right? Sit up here and talk about all the money that's raised and all these things that we identified as priorities of the community, and this was one of them. Well, don't do it and then go, cool, and forget about it. Imagine if you're recruiting me for business, and you're like, oh, here's our branding effort that we did 3 years ago. What? Oh, yeah, we take our branding very seriously. Here's what we do, here's a lunch here that does what we do. It tells me that you care about your reputation. I want to move my business to a community that cares about its reputation, that I know has gone through the effort enough to make sure it's not thrown under the bus, right? So package that you did this process, right? There's a lot of ways to share, engage other people. You are the first ones to do that. There's more involved. We have to get everyone involved. The chamber, the organizations that are immediately going to adopt it need to adopt it and apply everything. We've known that from the beginning, so we have some specific recommendations for the chamber, creating a sense of place. I gave an example of that earlier. We've got to do that. Extend the brand into the community. How do we get others involved? I've already alluded to that a little bit. And don't forget measurement. I'll give you a couple of measurements just in the 4 slides that I showed you research. We have performance measures to find out are we moving the needle of what people think about us, what people say about us, what's important to us. All right, so there's more. All right, go on. So I'm not going to go deep into all these, but a couple of examples. First of all, packaging the branding efforts. We've got to tell our story. We actually are working on, as we speak, we're working on a brand video that'll be shot in a few weeks, actually. It's the story, the brand story that I read. It's a much more elaborate one. It's probably going to be the basis for the script of the video. So I'm looking forward to giving that over to you all, and you all will see it soon. What we did for today we kind of a teaser video, if that makes any sense. So we haven't shot it yet, but some of you all assembled photos of your community, and we took that with the script, put it to music, and let's see how that feels, just for fun. Is that okay? Yeah. Cool, hit it. I forgot where I was. I think I told you all these things. Yeah, these are all recommendations for the packaging. Just hit the space bar once.
Just a couple of miles and a few minutes on Interstate 65 lies a place that embodies what many imagine life should and could be. If you take the time to get on it, you'll find a city steeped in history and small town traditions and values that anchor and connect us to the best of the past. Here in Hartselle, people still sit on wide front porches, warmly greeting passers-by, and church potluck suppers, Veterans Day parades, and loyalty to family and friends, football and country are still the norm and a cherished way of life. Here, the things that matter most, such as highly ranked schools, friends and neighbors coming together in celebration and support, and a warm, welcoming community spirit simply take front and center. Here you'll find a city that found a way to strike the perfect balance and marriage between old and new. From Hartselle's historic train and freight depot to the time-honored tradition of depot days, the community's strong ties to the railroad can be seen and felt throughout town today. Just step into the Freight House restaurant to see how history has been brought to new life, or stroll to the city's quaint downtown district listed on the National Register of Historic Places for 19th century buildings filled with inviting shops house the latest trends in fashion, weddings, home decor, and dining. Here, yesterday's farm, parks and suites are today's abundant fruit orchards, farmers markets, special needs playgrounds, and scenic river trails. Of course, many deeply rooted traditions, such as hospitality, never go out of style, particularly in the city of southern hospitality, where they believe strangers are only friends they haven't met yet. Whether you're a new neighbor, new business owner, or first-time visitor, you'll find yourself quickly enveloped in a kind of contagious, friendly, small-town charm that naturally absorbs your healthy community. Here in Hartselle, the old stands for continuity, while the new symbolizes great optimism for the future. From the football field to Main Street, and all the favorite gatherings out in between, by reaching back to move forward, this city represents the best of both worlds, where people treasure and embrace yesterday as they head towards tomorrow. Hartselle, something old, something new.
Did y'all recognize faces? Again, we're actually doing a big video. That was more of just, let's put something together to show you today, kind of bring it to life a little bit. Next one, please. All right, so sharing and engaging with others. There's a process of doing that. You can go ahead and hit the next one, I think. So one of the recommendations we've made to the chamber is the creation of a Hartselle branding team. Remember the place branding wheel? Well, we got to put it to action. We can't say, okay, I'm buying what they're saying, that it is everyone's job, but let's look, the chamber does it all by themselves. Can't do that. Can't do that. No, it's got to be bigger than the chamber. It's got to be bigger than the municipality, right? Now, we need the chamber, we need the municipality, we need the city, right? We need tourism to be involved. We need downtown to be, city center to be involved. We need you to be involved. So we've recommended the creation of a branding team. What is a branding team? This isn't really the best explanation, so the best way I can do it, though, it's somewhat accurate. It's like a branding watchdog. I don't mean someone's going to tell the chamber what they need to be doing. I mean, they already do that anyway, right? But you want to be aware. This is your community. This is your city. So if, let's say the city is in discussion about a parking garage. Don't shoot me, I'm just using this as an example. Well, let's say that's what they're talking about, a parking garage. What would be cool is this branding committee goes, you know what? I heard that Frank was talking about a parking garage, that they might actually do it. You know, the public works director or whoever is purchasing goes through RFPs day in, day out, from sidewalks to tree trimming to trash, I mean, you name it. They're not thinking about branding. But what if someone was aware of what was going on and went, hey, you know, we need to make sure that when they do the RFP, whoever they pick to build that garage needs to tell our story with it. Tell our story in a parking garage. You know how much more it costs to brand a parking garage than not brand it? Zilch. As long as you do it at the beginning. It just takes the wherewithal to go, Remember my example, a long time ago, Nashville has a parking garage, and every floor was named after a country music legend. You all wouldn't do that, but you all do something. We could tell Hartselle, it's not about putting a logo on the parking garage. Don't put the logo on the parking garage. Who cares? But tell your story with it, right? If you had a parking garage, that'd be their first step ever in their community, is in your parking garage. It's kind of cool. I use that as an example. You could go on and on. Crosswalks. I heard we're going to repaint the crosswalks. Ooh, let's get art involved. I mean, you could just have regular crosswalks, or they could look like little railroad tracks. That'd be cool, right? Or some other artwork. Right? Let's create a community of storytellers. If we're all involved, we're doing it together, right? And some of you all, if you're on that committee, will go back to your own business, because you won't say anything in the meeting, but you'll go back and you'll have some ideas, and you'll start doing things with your own business that's telling the Hartselle story. That's what we want to do. So we recommended that there is a creation of a brand committee. If you're interested in it, Ms. E.R. knows going to be the point person for it. That's ahead in the days ahead, so don't expect that this is going to happen like tomorrow. But reach out to her if you're interested, because I expect this is a big group. I've seen some places do this, and they actually spin off and create a 501c3. That way, Chamber could give a little money to it, economic development, city and tourism, and private dollars. Why? Because, believe it or not, private businesses care about the brand of their city. They want it to look nice. So if you had an organization that was responsible for it, they could do things and not have to worry about the red tape of, I don't know, municipal government. Not pick what I need, but we all know this, right? Right? Get that? Okay. So that's going to be step one. Coming soon. Next. Chamber of Commerce application. This is like, since most of you have to go on the chamber, everybody here is a chamber member anyway. So here's the branding applied to some of the chamber work, right? Let's look at that a little bit. Obviously, there's a version of the logo with the chamber logo on it. Next. Ta-da! Mrs. has never seen this, by the way. So this is literally the first time she gets to see her new business cards. So have a little bit of fun, for sure. Those are cool. I like those. Nice. All right, yeah, good. I'm glad you like them. Whew. All right, next. Yeah, so you look at kind of total presentation of letterhead envelope, all that stuff, how they look together. Fun stuff. For announcements, like social media announcements, digital communications, you want a lot of latitude. Branding is not about templates all the time, but you do want to make me recognizable, some consistency. Next. You didn't always have to be blue, so this is just showing you some color palettes a little bit. That's fun. Next. Creating a sense of place, talked about that. That's usually a lot of collaboration when you get with signage and things. We didn't necessarily worry. I expect partnerships to occur with a project like this. So we kind of gave some examples of some sense of place. Go ahead. You all are our downtown banner type of community. You always have them out, whether it's salute to your military, and a lot of nice ones out right now as well. So we've got just a couple of examples of how that could work. Just shop, dine, play with the new logo on it, or you could take photos without, because they do fade, and do something like this. Right? So just to dress up the community downtown. So those are some examples of pole banners, how they would look. I think the next slide shows what they would look like actually in their environment. Here we go. All right, what else? Wayfinding. We're not a wayfinding company, and not necessarily trying to propose this is it, but anytime you develop any type of community branding work, you want to make sure if there's wayfinding developed, how could it work? How could it apply to you? You don't always have to put a logo on wayfinding. Usually when people are in a city looking at wayfinding, they know what city they're in. They just need to know where to go. So you want to grab an element with either it's a letter, often is done, or some element. In this case, we chose the heart in that curvature of the logo to be kind of a signature element of wayfinding. So there's an idea of what wayfinding could look like. All right, and then just to wrap things up, we've got to extend into the community. We've got to get you all involved, and I've already alluded a little bit of how to do that. Come up with ideas. And I'm going to show you a few in a second. Just to bragging about your community fun. And you all do. I've seen some of the shops. You all have Hartselle, Hartselle stuff all over the place. Coffee mugs, Hartselle mugs. You all do that stuff. We've got to facilitate more of that with everybody. All right. So just have a little bit of fun. I think we mocked up some fun examples. I think. Yeah. So whether it's my creative director could not get over the fact that we actually looked at the logo of an apple pie. I'm not joking. And, we didn't go there, but it was cute. It was funny, right? He's like, they're so apple pie. It's just this great thing, So of course he had to show the apple pie dish with Hartselle logo in it. Squeeze the toys. I promised him I'd show it, but it's fun. Next, the photo album actually seems very appropriate for you all, right? So some of your shops, like, you could be selling these. This could be a good chamber thing to sell, right? There's a lot of ways to have a little fun. There's no limitations to it, really. Next, and adoption of other people. She said I could show this. You all familiar with the Hartselle City Center, new downtown initiative? They're adopting their version of the logo too. Now this is a completely different logo, but it looks like they're part of the same family, doesn't it? Borrow the blue color is familiar, right? The arch is familiar. Instead of the heart, they're using the lamppost. Cool, it works. Doesn't have to be the same logo. It definitely looks like we get along and we organize and we're collaborating together, right? So more to come from that organization. I'm excited about that. We're still working with them on some of their communications, but adoption by other people or organizations, again, I can't emphasize this enough. They're doing it graphically because of the synergies between City Center and the Chamber, of course. But a logo doesn't make it. It's storytelling that matters most. All right? And I mentioned measurement earlier. To me, the most important measurement of a branding project that's tied directly to a branding project, how many people are actively involved? Some of you are already and you didn't ask for it. Right? Our branding is a reflection of who we are. So therefore, if the branding is accurate, that means we're already doing it. Does that make sense? Right? Something blue, easy. Right? But all of us, our logo, our story is a reflection of that. But people the number of organizations that actively say, yes, we're on board with this one way or another, the more, literally, that's a recommendation, is count how many people say, yes, we're on board with this. Because I promise you, the more that means we're working together in our community on everything. And that means we're going to be bragging about our community and everything that we do. We're going to be strong and robust. And the result's going to be all the financial benefits of the community that we want, whether our taxes stay low, our receipts stay high, all that good stuff, right? All right? Any questions? I think that's it. Is the next slide say thank you? Awesome. Cool. What questions do you all have? Missy?
Oh, it's that one. So what does measurement look like?
What does measurement look like? A number of things. The first one is what I just mentioned. It is how many people are saying they're involved. The reality is a bunch of people that are, as I said, are involved, and they don't have to say it. They just are, right? But keep counting. My challenge to the chamber is to keep counting how many organizations say, yes, we're on board with the branding. I'll give you an example of what does on board with the branding mean. I've seen some cities, Gainesville, Florida, created a branding charter. In organizations around town, signed the charter to say, we all buy into this, that this is important. And again, it's not about logo. It's that our personality, our voice, right, that we're cute and quaint, family values and faith are always going to be at the forefront of our voice. That's who we are, right? So when you have, I don't know, a big box retailer, dare want to step flip here, we have terms. We understand who we are. right? So it keeps it, so that measurement keeps it from being, if I can use you as an example, Missy's pet project. This can't be Missy's pet project. This is about the community, right? So literally getting an account of people, like a measurement. So in other words, the Chamber of Commerce, I've got 23 businesses locally have said they're on board with the branding and are going to look at ways they can bring the branding into their own business. If community branding is such a great idea, it should benefit the local business. And not an ounce of that says that they took their logo and used it. That's why I put emphasis on the 5 functions, right? You can name a hamburger after something that goes with Hartselle, right? I've seen communities create a stamp about the community made in Hartselle, and use that as an example, spontaneous, right? In like a microbrewery, they were made on for artisans that make their own wares and shops and soaps and stuff, right? The goal is to get your community name in the context of your stories in many different ways as possible. That makes it authentic. So keeping account of the number of organizations that do that, report on that at the chamber dinner, for example, right? And then how do you get next year? And then also in the research, there's a lot of brand performance measures. I showed you a couple of them. I showed you some of the cool ones. As I also mentioned, there's some that you rate yourselves poorly on, right? So coming back in about 3 years is usually our recommendation, 3 or 4 years, and doing another way with research to understand, are we moving the needle for the things that we need to move on, right? Shows that you're making progress, for sure. What else? Yes, sir. I get the question. You remember the research, because yeah, I'm gonna do that. The question was, when you did the research, a lot of that surrounding communities really associate our businesses, particularly downtown, as antiques. And I understand what, and therefore, what can we do to change those perceptions? I do understand that, because in our interviews, you all are a little sensitive to that. Like, wow, antiques. You all did that about us. We're not all antiques. Some of you still are, and that's great. It used to be a higher concentration of antiques than you are today. It takes a while, right? I mean, it takes a long time to change perceptions if you don't talk to people, right? So, for example, what would I do? Well, first of all, Decatur and Huntsville are probably the 2 markets that matter the most. There's a lot. You all get people from downtown from all over, right? I would actually make that a social media effort. If you're downtown in your chamber, advertising, you got to be selective where you're advertising. It can get expensive, particularly as you get into Huntsville. But you've got to get messaging that's out there. I'll just stay broad for now. You got to get messaging out there that tells people what downtown is, especially people that are that close to you. You know, people don't visit every month. A lot of you all have perceptions of places you visited 10 years ago, and you haven't been back. And in your brain, that's what it looks like. I promise you, they're a different community now. That happens to us as well. So you have to be very active with communicating. Good question. I understand why. What else? Yeah.
What is the long-term objective of branding? Getting people to visit, getting people to come here to work, getting people to build businesses here?
What's the long-term objective of branding? Is it for visitors? Absolutely. It makes it a lot easier. People have choices. People are also lazy. And so affecting how they choose and what they think of us matters. It makes it a lot easier, right? If someone has a great time here, they're going to bring 3 people next time. So our goal of branding for visitors, absolutely. Are we more than what we brand ourselves as? Probably. But then if we get too broad, we're going to be a great place to live, work, and play, and we don't know what it is. Is it for attracting businesses to town? If that's what you want to do, then yes. It, again, makes it easier to make choices. When you're sitting around the table for economic development, some of you in the chamber are, some of the local businesses are, that's a big discussion. What kind of business do we bring to Hartselle? It's always a conversation. We want jobs. We want to spur our economy. There are some businesses that you would probably say are not appropriate. Knowing who you are allows you to grow on your terms. I believe that's the most direct answer to your question, is know who we are. So as we grow, by the way, you're growing, there's nothing you can do about it, period. If I get that, you're growing, but do it on your terms, right? From a tourism perspective, what downtown looks like, from the businesses that grow around downtown, to the type of people that you attract. I live in Franklin, Tennessee. Y'all can read between the lines on this. We're growing by leaps and bounds. We're getting a lot. I mean, half of every newcomer that comes to town is from California. That's a fact. Do you think Franklin believes they're growing on their terms? I love, I'm not getting too crazy there. I'm just saying it's a major influx of people that are, some think we're like them, some don't think we're like them. It's created quite the quandary of discussion politically in our community, right? So knowing who you are is very important on how you grow, especially when you're small, and you are, and you're quaint, and you know everybody. Growth sometimes fights that. Does that make sense? By the way, I love California.
I'm just curious if you'd ever done a follow a campaign, paying attention to things where you go in and somebody who hired you, and you saw some success or was lack thereof.
Yeah, what about follow-up efforts from any communities that you can relate to? Columbia, Tennessee would be a good one. We actually did the branding and a project just like this, and a tourism strategic plan for Columbia about 6 years ago now. And if you call the executive director, Kelly Murphy, who works for the city, she's the executive director of tourism for the city, she'll tell you that plan, they followed it. It was, she calls it literally their brand Bible. And they followed it pretty religiously. If you follow much about Columbia, Tennessee right now, it's exploding. Timing was perfect. It was perfect. Rowan County, I need to know the numbers. I went back a year ago. It was 6 years since we did the branding project for Rowan County, North Carolina. All local sales receipts were up. Tourism dollars were up about 25% in the 5-year period that they reported on. But the biggest number was the economic impact of jobs and new businesses in the town. Man, I wish I could use that stuff in case studies when I do proposals, but I don't. Here's why. I know branding alone didn't do that. You all do. Branding, if you'll notice that the pattern of my presentations are about working together. If you do that on a branding project, you present yourself as a unified front, which means you're doing it on everything else. That means you're working together. The reality is, true economic numbers that we really care about are because we all work together. And if you're working together on branding, you're going to be doing that too. Yes?
Has this brand been adopted yet by the chamber? How deep into the community is it being used, like the city, and who's going to police the use of the correct colors and fonts and not offering it to their own life?
Yeah, I feel comfortable if you feel comfortable with me. There I go. The question was, who's going to police the brand? How deep is it already being used? I think other than notepads, I don't think anything's happened yet. Is that correct? Yeah.
So it's on the newsletter. We did put it on the
They
newsletter.
did put it on the newsletter. So it's just started. It's going to be a semi-slow rollout. You notice there's not a ta-da. Did you notice that you saw it when you walked in? It's on the table. Did you notice there was no? I didn't put on my magician's hat. Take off my hat. Ta-da! Look at the logo. I didn't do that. Right? Don't ever do that. It's going to be a slow. It's going to be applied as best as possible, as soon as possible. I understand. I think the chamber, for the most part, is ready to roll with it. That's correct. So the cat is absolutely back. As far as policing it, the Chamber of Commerce organization owns the graphic elements. All right? So they will be the ones that say, yes, if you'd like to use the logo, I don't know how many people will use the logo, but if you want to use it on a storefront, I'm sure there'll be a chamber. You know how you all like to window clean people to death, right? So I'm sure there'll be a whole new set of window clings with the chamber logo on it and put it on there, but that's really their asset that they give people. You know, I think taking the story and the elements and figuring out how can we be storytellers. Again, I used the hamburger example earlier. If I had a hamburger joint, I'd come up with one name. I don't have to put something old, something new. I don't have to put that on there. But I could have some fun with it. I mean, I'm making Georgia as a hamburger, the Almond Burger at the Rookery, because the Almond Brothers are a big part of their story. That's cool. That's a dynamic brand, right? Their tagline isn't Home of the Almond Brothers either. It's where soul is, right? So it's bigger than a line. But it is storytelling. I just can't emphasize that enough. Does that address?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yep. What else? Like, if you want merchandise, and you're all like, I want to sell shirts and mugs and stuff, you're going to have to get Chamber's permission to use that logo on your mug. But you just let them do it. All right, anything else? Awesome, thank you very much.
All right, so in terms of next steps, it's all about how do we put this into work, and certainly the chamber is working on rebranding the website and putting all these elements into the website in the way that we promote. As Steve mentioned, we are going to be launching a Hartselle Community Brand Ambassador program, so we do want to get some volunteers. It's not the same as the chamber ambassadors, it's not the same as the branding committee, although we will do something old and something new. So some of you might want to be a part of that, as well as having new people. I do just want to say, actually, one of the questions, Mary, you asked a question about the objective, and really it boils back down to that promotion, the design, the workforce education. I know that all you know that Sarah Wire is building a new plant out off of 65. When we did that, we went through a process of going through communities all up and down 65, all the way through Indiana. And you do see this collaboration with all the communities that we saw, whether it's Chamber of Commerce, the cities, municipalities, community colleges, they all get together and you can kind of see that story being told. So I would echo the comments about in terms of tracking business. It is an important part of that. So, and then just finally, I wanted to say thank you again. Having a full room of people just helps reiterate to me how important this is to this organization and important to this group here. So I really appreciate you all being here. And being that it is still a chamber meeting, we do need to have a motion to adjourn.
I give a motion to adjourn.
Oh, there's a motion, second? There's a second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, thanks again so much for being here, appreciate it.
you know, Courtney,